Hey everybody, it's a Telsinator here, filling out another request again. This one I've actually had someone ask for how to play bass starting from square one, which I guess I never really thought of doing, but seeing as that's what I pretty much do for a living, show people how to do that, I guess I could give it a little whirl on here. So, I'm going to treat it like you're on absolute square one, right from dead beginner. So, the parts of the bass. We'll always start. We've got the main parts, the body, the neck, and we've got the headstock at the end. That's just a little clip-on tuner I've got. Don't worry, that's not part of the instrument. The very back, holding our strings together, we have the bridge. We have our input jack, where the cord plugs in. This is a toggle switch to toggle between the various pickups. We've got our tone knob at the bottom, volume knob closest to you. Then we've got our basic pickups. There's also one on this one built right into the bridge. But this is the main pickup I use. And the toggle switch will allow me to use those two different pickups as well as combinations of the sounds that you get from the two pickups. Carrying on here, we've got our, of course, our fingerboard or fretboard on top. We've got the frets going vertically. Our fret markers, each of the dots represent one of the odd numbers, 3, 5, 7, 9. Then you've got another one on your second octave at the 12th fret. Holding all of your strings together on the other end is the nut of the bass or the guitar. So the strings vibrate from the nut to the bridge. And all you're really doing essentially when you press down on a note is you're shortening the distance from the nut. So this becomes our artificial nut on the guitar. And it rings from the nut to the bridge. And so we're shortening the string length. And that's how all notes are made on stringed instruments. Last little part at the top here, they have lots of various names, but I believe the technical term is machine heads. They can also be called tuners, tuning keys, tuning heads, whatever, you name it. If you say something along the lines of tuner, then people know what you're talking about. So, those are the basic parts of it. As far as technique goes, I've got a few things I'm a stickler about, and any of my students will know exactly what I'm talking about here. It's the left-hand thumb. I call it the thumbs-up rule. You want to put your left-hand thumb on the back of the neck. See if I can get that into the shot. You want it facing up. We don't want the thumb to come over the top. We don't want it to go underneath the neck of the guitar or sideways. A general rule would be to avoid having the palm of your hand actually touching the neck of the bass. You want to have your thumb and your fingertips do it. So your thumb goes on square, and you use your fingertips kind of pointing straight up so your fingernails are looking you in the face, for lack of a better expression. And ideally, we want to start off with just one finger per fret. So our very first goal would be to get these kind of stretches down from the 1st to the 4th fret to make this comfortable. Your right hand technique. Now, some people like to use picks. I don't personally use one. I did when I first started, and so I won't knock the pick. John Paul Jones uses picks on particular songs, just when you want a particular sound. Also, if you're palm muting, a pick is a good one to use. But as far as the two-finger technique goes, we just alternate between our index and middle fingers. We want to get our thumb anchored somewhere, so some people like to rest it on the pickup. Some people, including me, like to rest it onto the string, the lowest string, or the strings that you're not using. So naturally, when you want to use that lowest string, you have to anchor somewhere else, like the pickup. So this is called a floating anchor, when our thumb will move from string to string. It's hard to kind of see from that angle, but my thumb is moving. So I always rest it on the lower ones. That really helps a lot with it, because your main goal here is to play one note at a time, and you don't really want to have the other notes ringing, because it's easy to get a terrible sound. If you hear that open string ring with this E flat, I've got two terrible clashing notes, so it's good to rest my thumb. When I pluck through, you only hear the one note. Now, as far as the two-hand technique goes, we want to drape the fingers down, so kind of have them hanging straight down like drapes. With your thumb anchored, and you just want to alternate between the two. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I almost always start with the middle finger. I never really think about that, it becomes natural, but the longer finger wants to go. And you just want to practice them going like that, and just try it on each fret. You'll see my thumb is moving down on my right hand. So, when we're doing the pluck, we want to make sure when we're playing the A string, D string, or G string, we're going to follow through with the pluck. So I'll try and move this a bit closer to the camera. When I pluck the string, my finger will follow through, and the actual thumpy sound comes from the follow through when your finger rests on the adjacent string. On the upright bass, one would play like this with your finger on the side, using as much of the meat of your finger as you can, and when you hit it, you pull through, and you rest on the string below. That's how you get that real pop, that thumpy sound out of it. And we want to try and simulate that on the electric bass. So when we pluck, we want to make sure we follow through, and it really helps us get the muscle memory developed, so our finger is always used to going the same distance from the D string to the A, from the G string to the D. You should hear that thump coming through on your bass and through your amp as you're going. So that's just a good one when you're very first starting, just to kind of go through one finger per fret like I showed you right at the beginning, get that alternating with your right hand, and really you just need to get your left hand and right hand working together again. And make sure anytime, that's just my cell phone, anytime you're shifting, you want to move your thumb with it. Your whole hand moves like this. You don't want to have your thumb stay behind while your fingers go up. So I'll put my thumb up just so you can see it here. That's how most people play, and at the end their thumb is over here and their fingers are up here. All the strength that you're using to press down the notes has to come from the tendons in your arm. So you want to have that kind of perfect curve going from your fingers down to your arm. You don't want to just have your wrist turned in like this. Then you're taking your arm out of the equation and just using your fingers and your wrist, and you can get, carpal tunnel, tendonitis, all the other problems that come with being a musician and having improper technique. So this will feel really weird at first to have your hand like that. I always kind of picture it as holding like a wet tennis ball or something like that. You don't want to have it touch the palm of your hand. And make sure your thumb and your hand moves together as one. So those are the basics, a few things to really start with. And you're not going to want to hear this, but major scales. Everything in music, all of the chords and melodies you learn, everything is based off of the major scales. Even minor stuff is based on major stuff. It's variations of it. So to start, the C major scale is a great one to start with, just because it uses all natural notes. So starting on your third string from the bottom, or your A string, you can number them 1, 2, 3, and 4, or you can give them their letter names: G, D, A, and E. So the third fret on your A string, or third string, will be a C. Then your second string open, D. E is on the second fret, same string. F is right beside it, same string. Next string opens, your G string open, G. Second fret is A. B on the fourth fret, and C on the fifth fret. And you'll notice I'm using my pinky finger for that C. Don't take shortcuts, use your pinky finger. On your bass, you're going to need all the stretching, all the distance that you can possibly muster. C major scale, do, re, mi. That way you get to practice your alternating your two fingers here, keeping your thumb on the back, and making sure that you shift only slightly and you move your thumb with the rest of your hand. Okay, another few of them I'll get you to do. The G scale uses sort of a similar fingering, but we start right on the very top, right on our low E string, our fourth string on the third fret. G, next string open, A, B on the second, C again, so we're starting kind of like the C major scale, D, E, F sharp is on the fourth fret, and then your open G string. Another good one to do, E major scale. Get to using your pinky finger and your middle finger. So open E string, your fourth string, second fret, fourth fret. Same thing on the next one. A, B, C sharp. Then your first fret on your D string for your D sharp, and finish off on E, the root. Starting off with those scales, you can't go wrong. So there's the basics for playing the electric bass. Any questions? Don't hesitate to email me.